Hey YouTube, Will here from All Electric, back again with another video, and today we will be discussing Navigate on Autopilot. In this video, I'm going to give you the good and the bad of the current system running the most current version that Tesla has released to the public. Now before we jump into details about Navigate on Autopilot, I want to first talk about the difference between Autopilot and Navigate on Autopilot. As you can see here, I have two blue lines on the side of my screen. That's the easiest way to see if you're in Navigate on Autopilot versus regular Autopilot. So in this video clip that you're seeing right here, this is just regular Autopilot, and this is designed for any road. You can also do this on the highway. Now, Autopilot is not going to make any sort of turn. It is just going to follow this road. You as the driver are going to have to take over and perform any sort of turn that you want to do. Now again, this is just regular Autopilot. This comes with all Teslas now. And so this is a standard feature, just regular Autopilot. Now, Navigate on Autopilot is something that you have to pay extra for, and that is part of the FSD package. So currently, as of this recording, Navigate on Autopilot is only available on major highways without stoplights. So on this highway, you can see I'm in Navigate on Autopilot because I do have that single blue line coming out of the center of the car, and also I have that blue box where it says Navigate on Autopilot is illuminated. Now if I tapped on that blue box, it would then remove the single blue line and I would go back to just regular Autopilot. Now the difference between the two, Navigate on Autopilot is going to make automatic lane changes on a highway and also take on-ramps and off-ramps on the highway. Navigate on Autopilot definitely allows you to have more customization than just regular Autopilot. So I'm going to pull up the menu here so you can see that you can have it start every time you start a trip. There's also a speed-based lane changes. So if there's slow traffic in front of you, you can have it all the way up to Mad Max mode, where it's really going to be quite aggressive and quick in terms of getting around other people. But definitely, if you have Navigate on Autopilot, those are my settings, so I just showed that to you just so you have a baseline of where all this footage is coming from. So Navigate on Autopilot does a pretty good job, but I find myself not using it all that often because it typically doesn't make the best lane changes. So here you can see a slower car in the left-hand lane, so it gets over into the right-hand lane, which is exactly what I would have done as a regular driver, although I would have done it a lot sooner. It followed this car for at least about a mile before it decided to get over in the right-hand lane and ended up passing that car. I had the speed set at 79 miles per hour. That'll become in handy here shortly as I get up to this truck. Now, it sees the truck, I can see the truck as a driver, and before I start to slow down, it's going to initiate a lane change. Now, this is rare. This typically doesn't happen. I have another example where the car will actually get really close to the truck, slow down below my set speed, and then it will make the lane change. So I never slowed down. You can see I maintain my set speed there at 79 miles per hour, and I was able to transition from the right lane to the left lane to get around this big truck. And now that I'm in the left lane, I have no traffic. The car should get back over. Now here's where the Navigate on Autopilot wouldn't perform the same as a normal human driver. So I'm coming up to a bridge that has a on-ramp coming on. And so what you're going to see here in this next few seconds is a truck entering that on-ramp. So I'm going to zoom in right here. You can see the truck entering into the on-ramp. So immediately as a human driver, I would automatically get over. And that's something that I want to see the Navigate on Autopilot do. Just giving that extra space for those oncoming vehicles. The left lane was clear, so it could have easily gotten over in that instance, but instead decided to stay straight and now is making that lane change over because it does see that traffic way up ahead that it wants to get over in that left-hand lane, which is open. Now that it's transitioned over to that left-hand lane, I'm going to speed up the video clip here just a little bit. So I'm maintaining that set speed of 79 miles per hour, passing two vehicles. Now there is a third truck heading up there, and you can see that the autopilot here, the navigate on autopilot, does a great job staying in that left lane and then passing this final vehicle. Now both lanes are completely open. I'm going to slow the footage down, and you can see it initiates the turn over into that right lane. Now this is perfect. This is exactly what I would do as a regular human driver. It's just doing a great job transitioning lane to lane and moving over exactly when I would also move over. So no traffic around me here, so it's going to maintain that right lane position. I do have a car to my right hanging out in my blind spot that does go forward and then back again. So just speeding up the footage here, there's no lane change until we get to this other on-ramp. You can see the dash lines on the right-hand side end, and then the car is going to swerve over to the right, trying to center itself in that lane. So this is definitely something that Tesla needs to work on. So instead of using both lane lines in that situation, I would have liked to see it just use the dashes in the middle and then maintain that straight ahead versus kind of swerving over to the right. So now you can see a huge truck I'm coming up on, and the left lane is open here, but it's still not getting over. So now I'm slowing down to all the way to 72, 71, 70 miles per hour before it does make that lane change. That's an instance where I would like to see the navigate on autopilot act more human-like, where we would have seen the truck way ahead in advance, which I did, and I would have made that lane change a lot sooner than the autopilot did. But here is a great example of driving kind of like I would. So it's 69 miles an hour is pacing that car sitting in the left lane, which they shouldn't be. So the autopilot made a lane change to the right lane. It's now passing that vehicle. There is a truck up ahead, but it looks like there is going to be enough gap there. So we're going to pass the car that's sitting in the left lane. And then now we give a little shimmy shake on the steering wheel, confirming the lane change, and it's going to go around that truck. So a pretty complex move right there, and operated really well by the autopilot, or the navigate on autopilot, which is now getting out of the passing lane and back into the right lane. So this is an instance where, you can kind of see on the horizon up there a white box truck, and so I might not have necessarily made that lane change back into the right lane, but it's okay that the vehicle did that. So now it's going to move back into the left lane because we have a slower vehicle in the right lane. So I didn't slow down like we did last time. I maintained that set speed of 79 miles per hour. And you can see this big truck is going into the left lane now. And so the navigate on autopilot sees that and is actually going to go into the right lane, which I think that big truck saw some things that we couldn't have seen, like that car on the side of the road, and that I don't think that the navigate on autopilot is necessarily paying attention to. So this truck probably got word that there was construction on this right hand side, or he saw it. So we have some arrows here that there is a little bit of road work going on back there, but we were able to pass it pretty smoothly. So let's keep the video footage pretty quick. So now we have a transition happening here where the car wants to go into the left lane. I give the little shimmy shake on the steering wheel so it knows I'm still paying attention. It cuts in front of that truck that we just passed and then is able to smoothly transition. And I want to reiterate how smooth that lane change is. The lane changes in this car are fantastic. And really it's my personal preference in terms of why I don't necessarily use the navigate on autopilot all that much, is because I like to pick the lanes. I feel like the lane change is more important than the navigate on autopilot. Just being able to be in autopilot and flick the lane change stalk, to change lanes right or left is more important to me than having the car do it on its own. So typically I stay in regular autopilot and then I just control the car with the change stalk, which does require the FSD package, which some people I know have wished that they would separate out, but I don't see that coming in the future. I think they're going to keep that as one single package. So here comes another good example of why I don't use the navigate on autopilot all that much. So it's hard to see in this video, but straight ahead in the right hand lane there is a truck carrying a couple cars. So we're going to follow what the navigate on autopilot wants to do, but you can see the truck there carrying a couple cars, so there's no way if I was driving I would get over into that right-hand lane. So that's definitely a limitation in the system. I don't know if the cameras aren't picking that up or they're just not reading it that far, but then you can see we went from the right lane and now we're already back in the left lane almost immediately. And so that's something where it's kind of annoying as the driver for the car bouncing back and forth. And again, you saw the navigate on autopilot settings that I'm using here in this video. So now my exit's coming up and the car wants to transition back over. We've passed that car. There's plenty of space. It's very safe in terms of the lane changes and all that. That is phenomenal. And I've never had an issue with any of the lane changes. It's, for me, only the lane choices that it makes and sometimes getting over too soon. So here's our exit. It does a pretty jerky job there, getting over and then slowing down significantly once it's in that exit lane. But then you can see here 3, 2, 1, and we're out of navigate on autopilot and back to regular autopilot. You can tell by those 2 blue lines. So I really hope this video was helpful to you in not only showing the difference between navigate on autopilot and regular autopilot, but also the limitations that system has in terms of choosing the correct lane that a regular human driver would choose. I think there's definitely some room to grow there. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you share this video with a friend and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. As always, I'll see you in the next one.